In Budapest, Hungary, Ben, the CIA chief of station, was on a mission. He's with his partner John. They were tracking a mole suspected of working with the Russians. Soon the target showed up, but things became complicated when a Russian team led by Yevgeny also moved in on him. With both sides chasing the same man, the operation quickly spiraled out of control, and the valuable information slipped away from everyone.
And that, ladies and gentlemen,
is how you sabotage an old-school side drop.
After the failed mission, Yevgeny noticed Ben and walked over. Instead of making a threat, he casually wished Ben well for his upcoming wedding anniversary. They've known each other for decades. That night, Ben kept the tradition alive. He bought a rose and went to meet his wife, Farah, for dinner at the cafe where they had first fallen in love. Farah was already waiting, and together, they prepared to head inside. Just before they went in, Farah spotted a friend and asked Ben to go ahead while she stopped to say goodbye. Seconds later, the cafe exploded. The blast ripped through the building, and Farah was caught inside. In the aftermath, Ben learned the devastating truth. His wife had not survived. My name is Sid, and today we're recapping the 2024 action thriller movie, Chief of Station. Please do me a favor and support this channel before we jump into the best part. Back to the story. 6 months had passed since the bombing, and Ben was still struggling with the loss of his wife. He had convinced himself it was nothing more than a tragic accident. Just like the other victims that day, Farah had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So instead of questioning it, he chose to grieve quietly. But that silence didn't last. One day, Ben was called in by the agency. They told him Farah's death was connected to a man named Karen, a notorious killer who had already taken out a NATO agent. Ben couldn't believe what he was hearing. The suggestion that Farah had ties to someone like that infuriated him. He exploded in anger, refusing to let anyone stain his wife's name.
Listen to me, you smug piece of shit. Farah believed what she did for the CIA was both meaningful and critical to America's safety.
Would you be willing to take a polygraph exam?
You're damn right I would.
Ben, we're done.
Farah had been his colleague for years. They had shared missions, risks, and trust. He knew her better than anyone, and the idea that she had betrayed the agency felt impossible. She was loyal, not a traitor. As he walked out of the room, the deputy director tried to calm him, but Ben walked away, certain of one thing: he would never believe Farah was a mole. That night, unable to shake the doubt, Ben sat at his computer and searched for any lead on Karen. Hours passed, but nothing useful turned up. The next day at the office, Ben discovered his security clearance had been restricted. His badge no longer worked, locking him out of the building's levels. But suddenly, a stranger introduced himself as Jackson. Ben didn't recognize him, but Jackson acted like they had known each other for years. Jackson stepped in at the right moment, offering to help.
Oh, you want VIP access, but they put a security restriction on your badge.
He claimed to have once worked with Farah and insisted he wanted to uncover the truth behind her death. With Ben's ID disabled, he had little choice but to accept the man's help. Together, they ran scans on faces seen near the cafe during the bombing. Every match came back to CIA operatives. Jackson brushed it off as a coincidence, but the findings left Ben uneasy. Jackson ran a scan on Ben's computer to check if anyone had tampered with his system. The results would take a few days to process. While waiting, Ben planned to see his son Nick in Paris, but Nick wasn't available right away. He was busy banging his girlfriend. They agreed to meet in 4 days anyway. That night, Ben's thoughts drifted back to Farah. He remembered one of their dinners when she had given him a charm bracelet. She had called it his lucky charm and told him to always keep it close to his heart, never to take it off. Ben had accepted it without hesitation, never knowing it would end up being the last gift she would ever give him. With time to spare before meeting Nick, Ben traveled to Budapest to reconnect with his old partner John. He shared his doubts about Farah's death and told John he didn't believe the official version of events. John reminded him that they needed solid proof before questioning the agency. Ben also met with Hitchens, who had worked with Farah in the past. He asked her for help in digging deeper into the truth behind his wife's death. Hitchens couldn't offer much direct help, but she handed Ben some money Farah had set aside and gave him a name: Yevgeny, his old rival. She explained that Yevgeny's tech team had been monitoring Farah, and he might be the only one who could shed light on what really happened. It was the only lead Ben had. With cash in hand, he headed straight to Yevgeny's casino. After greasing the right palms, he slipped inside without trouble. Yevgeny knew right away Ben wasn't there for roulette. He stayed calm at first, but it was clear he wanted Ben gone quickly. When charm didn't work, he had his men step in. A group of thugs surrounded Ben, fists ready. But against a veteran assassin, they didn't stand a chance. Ben dropped them one by one with sharp, quick strikes. Even when a gun was pulled on him, he disarmed the man in seconds. Still, the numbers overwhelmed him, and he was finally forced down. When he came to, Ben was convinced these men had been behind Farah's death. Yevgeny denied it. To prove his point, he showed Ben video footage, claiming none of his people were at the bombing site. But Ben caught something Yevgeny didn't expect. He spotted Karen in the video. Yevgeny brushed it off, insisting Karen wasn't one of his men and had no ties to Russian intelligence. Moments later, the place was ambushed by an unknown group. The attackers moved in fast and cut down most of Yevgeny's men. At least 10 Russian assassins stormed the scene, and within seconds, 3 of his guys were already lying dead. Strangely, they couldn't hit Ben. With no gun in his hands, he managed to slip away and jump into a nearby SUV. By sheer luck, the keys were sitting inside. He slammed it into reverse, but the vehicle flipped over almost immediately, landing upside down outside the compound. Even then, Ben had all the time in the world to crawl out and get away, while the assassin somehow failed to finish the job. And through it all, Ben never once picked up a weapon to fight back. Right then, John appeared out of nowhere. Somehow, all these heavily armed Chechen assassins couldn't kill a man at point-blank range, and the timing of John's arrival made it almost comical. Ben jumped in with him and they sped off. On the way, Ben questioned how John had shown up so quickly. John explained he had been tracking Yevgeny all along. He then took Ben to his yacht, which he called a safe house, where Ben could stay hidden for a while. Ben, drained and running out of options, didn't argue. Back at Nick's place, life seemed normal. He and his girlfriend were still enjoying their time together. But the moment she left for shopping, a group of men in black showed up at his door. They introduced themselves as his father's colleagues and claimed they had been sent to take him safely to Ben. Nick was suspicious right away. He and his father had already arranged to meet in a few days, so the timing made no sense. He tried to refuse, but when he saw the men were armed, he had little choice but to go with them. They drove him to a so-called safe house, telling him Ben was waiting inside. Nick wasn't buying it. He tried to make a run for it, but his attempt failed instantly. Outnumbered and cornered, he had no choice but to go in. Meanwhile, on John's yacht, Ben was still trying to figure out his old partner's motives. John acted friendly at first, asking if Farah had given Ben anything before her death. Ben didn't hide the truth. Her death had been so sudden he never received anything from her. Realizing that angle wasn't working, John dropped the act. Predictably, John turned out to be a traitor. He led Ben into a hidden chamber, which indeed is a torture room. John strapped him to a chair and drove a needle under his fingernail. The pain was unbearable, but Ben had been trained to withstand it. Even when he blacked out, John revived him just to keep the torment going. John pressed him again, demanding to know what Farah had passed on before she died. When Ben stayed silent, John switched tactics. He claimed Nick was already in their custody, warning that if Ben didn't talk, his son would pay the price. Once John stepped away, Karen, the same assassin who had attacked earlier, came forward to continue the torture. Ben glared at him and swore that one day he would take him down himself. Just then, the roof burst open. A woman dropped in like a spider, guns blazing. Without wasting words, she cleared the room with precise shots. It was Christina, a former Russian agent, loyal to Farah. She told Ben she was there to get him out. The two fought their way upstairs, where another round of enemies was already waiting. After the intense fight, Ben and Christina quickly got into a canoe and paddled away. Once they reached land, Ben learned something that changed everything. Christina had been working with Farah on a secret operation, and John had been part of their team too. The group had originally been 7 people, but after John's betrayal, 6 of them, including Farah, had been killed. Christina revealed that Farah had left Ben a secret before she died, a family handprint. It was meant to act as a key. She didn't have the key herself, but she knew where it needed to be used. Ben remembered the necklace Farah had given him. It turned out that the necklace was the key. Farah had trusted him to keep it safe. The necklace unlocked access to classified documents about a money laundering case involving corrupt individuals in Europe. These records were extremely important. Ben and Christina planned to retrieve them first and then save Nick. When they reached the room, Ben used the handprint to open the door. Inside, they found only the objects Farah had left behind. The most important item, though, was her computer. On it, they discovered proof of John's corruption and the CIA deputy director's involvement in bribery. They were shocked. This evidence explained why Farah had risked everything to keep it safe. Ben felt a surge of sadness, realizing how much his wife had kept from him. Perhaps she hadn't fully trusted him. Christina reassured him that Farah's secrecy was meant to protect both him and their son. She had recognized John's betrayal coming and had prepared for it. That was why she had left Ben the key, to finish the mission she had started. Ben wanted to use the information to save Nick immediately, but Christina warned him that acting too soon could make Farah's sacrifice meaningless. They needed a careful new plan before moving forward. Ben called John and set up a meeting. The plan was simple: exchange the evidence for Nick's safety. With Christina, he headed to an abandoned factory for the handoff. Ben went inside alone, while Christina took position on the outside stairs, setting her sniper in the perfect spot. Inside, Ben met John and his team. At first, the negotiations seemed to go smoothly. Each side got what they wanted, but as Christina had predicted, John was never satisfied. The moment he received the evidence, he decided to tie up loose ends. He ordered his men to kill Ben and Nick. Luckily, Christina was ready. From her rooftop position, she opened fire first, giving Ben and Nick a chance to escape. John quickly spotted her sniper and aimed straight at her, but somehow missed. While John was distracted, Ben grabbed the bag, disarmed one of the attackers, and bolted to the car. John and Karen jumped into their car and chased them. Bullets flew, but Ben's expert driving skills let him dodge the fire. He lured them into a dark warehouse, where visibility was nearly zero. Ben told Nick to shoot back. Nick wasn't a professional agent, but thanks to his father's basic training, he managed to hit a few targets. Even with that, the chase was dangerous, and funny to be honest. Ben deliberately slowed down to draw them in, then led them through a narrow path. When they hit an obstacle, he accelerated suddenly, forcing them into reckless pursuit. The angered attackers collided with a barricade. John jumped out just in time, but Karen wasn't so lucky. He got trapped in the wreck and kept bragging about killing Farah until Nick fired the final shot, ending the threat. Ben knew John wasn't finished, so he turned the car around to confront him. At first, John tried to fight back, but Ben, knowing him inside out from years of working together, exploited his weaknesses. A few precise moves and John was completely subdued. With the evidence in hand, he was headed for a long prison sentence. The scene then shifted to the CIA deputy director, giving a speech about the honor of serving the country. But soon everyone got a message exposing his corrupt activities. He tried to deny it, but Yevgeny stepped in with proof. The deputy director was immediately arrested by Interpol and led away to face justice. In the final moments, Ben reunited his son and his girlfriend and congratulated Nick on his new IT job with the CIA. Life was slowly returning to normal, and the nightmare that had started in Budapest finally seemed to be behind them. Well, that's the end of this story. How did you like this recap? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.